All right, guys, here we are. We've got another Cleveland Moto Zoom podcast, and our podcast tonight, in order of absolutely no order whatsoever, we're going to say person whose origin is furthest from Cleveland is to my left.
And today, actually last week I showed my rally mug, but forgot that actually it's transparent, so you can't see crap on it.
For origin.
Wow, that's totally chroma keying out.
Oh my god.
Focus your fuck. There you go.
There you go.
Nice. High rollers, baby.
Colors, 2020.
Is that a pint glass or is that a...
No, it's the actual glass.
Yeah. Very cool.
And back to the beach. So, wine it is.
Nice.
Yep.
Wine out of a pint glass.
Yeah.
Extremely classy.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to get my pinky up, so it's all good.
There you go.
That lets it breathe really well.
It does.
Yeah.
There it goes.
Whirl it. Yeah.
And then to Oscar's left.
Me?
I think we have
It's you now.
I think it would be normally, wouldn't it be Chris?
Oh, you're right. Yep.
All right. We'll say Chris Smith.
All right.
I'm normally to his left.
And Kromke.
Woo! And to his left.
Johnny Mac.
And to his left.
Nick DeVito.
Yes. And to his left.
Steve
Maybe
Hoffert.
there you go.
You already killed half this bottle, so it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
To his left.
Me, and I went to the beer store, and they're locked, but they'll deliver you something. So I said, give me an IPA, and so they brought me this.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's not too bad.
Oh, yeah.
What's very funny is the bottle that... oh, yeah, you got...
Arches. This is a made in downtown Akron, actually.
Yeah, I think
really?
you guys are drinking the same beer.
Mm-hmm.
Almost. This is a West Coast IPA. Nick, what do you
This
have?
is a Towpath and Pale Ale.
They're both Arches, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that bottle that Steve Hoffert held up is a bottle that John McElfresh and I saw for sale at a liquor store in Portland, because that's a Kentucky Derby Woodford Reserve, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, and so...
Hold it up and talk, Steve. I want to see the bottle.
Hold the bottle up, Steve. So every year for Kentucky Derby, they do these limited edition runs of Woodford Reserve. And the funny thing is when they first launch these, and they sell them at the Derby, and they sell them everywhere, and people collect every year to have this like sequential history of the Kentucky Derbies. We saw that, and they're not always the best seller, but it's still Woodford Reserve, so it's still really fucking good. So despite the fact that this year in particular, we saw that at the liquor store for less than a normal bottle of Woodford Reserve. So the limited edition bottle of Kentucky Derby Woodford Reserve was going for less money than just buying a regular generic bottle of Woodford Reserve.
And let me ask you, is there any difference between the two, or are they just...
No, they're exactly the same.
Just the bottle.
Yeah, just the bottle. It's a commemorative bottle.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, so there you have it. Tonight on Drinking with Cleveland Moto, last night, so it was you and Renee went to LBM last night, right?
Yeah, they just opened a couple days ago just to open the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
They're not serving any drinks or anything, but at least they open for takeout. So.
Okay, for takeout.
Yep.
And so what they're doing is really interesting, is they're doing cocktails to go. And what they provide you with is they provide you with a mason jar that contains all of the bar mix that you would need to build a classic cocktail or one of their signature cocktails. And then all you have to do is add, your own ingredients, the booze part of the ingredients, because of course the little jar they're selling you doesn't have a liquor seal on it. It doesn't have a tax stamp on it. So the one that they got from me last night was the Mai Tai mix. So what they're selling you in the jar is they're selling you almond, demerara sugar, lime juice, water, and a little bit of orange blossom water. And then you've got to add your own rum. You got to add your own curacao. And then you got to add, what they're saying is you could add like a Mai Tai mix to it. And what I did was I just used a Cointreau and the plantation or the Appleton Estate in a little Cointreau, and boy, I'll tell you, it really made a good cocktail. And they say you can get about a dozen cocktails out of one of those mason jars. Now, I'm a bit of a heavy pour, and I don't pour a 4-ounce cocktail. So, but I think we'll do pretty good on it. So we'll see. But that's
number one or number two?
This is number 1.5. So I sampled it as I was building it, and I kept kind of adjusting the ratios. So yeah,
Nice. Hey,
My buddy
guys-
quit drinking. I was fortunate enough to score a bottle of this.
whoa, yes, you were.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
Good.
part of the box of booze that his wife set out on the porch for me to pick up.
Oh my God.
I'm like, you picked the wrong time to quit drinking, buddy.
Yeah, he should have waited a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
He should have gone through all of his good stock.
Yeah, well, that's my friend who is an ICU nurse who is taking care of COVID patients right now as we speak.
Yeah,
Hey, Chris, do we have a joke of the day? Or,
Yeah, you guys want to hear a joke?
always.
So an old man in Mississippi is sitting on his front porch watching the sunrise. He sees the neighbor's kid walk by carrying something big under his arm. Hey, boy, what do you got there? A roll of chicken wire. What are you going to do with that? I'm going to catch some chickens. You damn fool, you can't catch chickens with chicken wire. The boy just laughs and keeps walking. That evening at sunset, the boy comes walking by, dragging behind him the chicken wire and about 30 chickens caught in it.
Oh, Jesus.
The next morning, the old man's out watching the sunrise, and he sees the boy walk by carrying something in his hand. Hey, boy, what do you got there? A roll of duct tape.
What
are you gonna do with that? I'm going to catch me some ducks. You damn fool, you can't catch ducks with duct tape. The boy just laughs and keeps walking. That night around sunset, the boy walks by, trailing behind him the unrolled roll of duct tape with about 35 ducks caught in it. The next morning, the old man sees the boy walking by carrying what looks like a long reed and something fuzzy on the end. Hey, boy, what do you got there? It's a pussy willow. Wait up, I'll get my hat.
Cheers.
Good
That is
one.
fantastic.
Ba-da-dun.
That was this week's boomer joke.
That was good, yeah.
Yeah, I go through hundreds of them a week just to find one that maybe
They
will,
made the cut.
yeah.
You've been
A lot
pretty
of them fail. A
reliable.
lot of them fail.
So,
Oh, I can't even imagine which one are the ones that were left on the cutting floor.
Yeah.
So, who else has been pretty much working a standard 40-plus hour week? Right? Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that's most of us. Yeah. Every time I'm on Facebook and I read everybody on Facebook talking about how, oh my God, the walls are closing in around me and I've never experienced such boredom. And it's a little tough because I think we're actually working harder than we have ever worked before. I certainly know that Dr. Waters is working harder than she's ever worked before because instead of just walking into somebody's office and saying something and then continuing with her fucking day and having other missions to accomplish, because she has about 1,200 things a day she has to do, she now has to wait until she does the fucking Zoom meeting or whatever, you know, various different types of communication to put these ideas out and get these things to happen. So she's working much harder, yet not leaving our house, you know? It's really weird. So what else has anybody else got going on?
I mean,
I can tell you that it's way easier dealing with this after being retired for 3 years because it's pretty much just the same as always.
we're at work. We're trying really hard. We're trying to bust out 25 new cop cars because the city of Cleveland went to one man per car. So they're driving around. A guy, you and your partner are driving around in two separate cars following each other around. So they're scrambling to get as many vehicles on the road. So they're pulling cars, you know, that haven't ran and whatever, and they're bringing in. And we're doing our normal repairs, but also whatever else we can do to make the cars more serviceable plus there's, ambulance. I mean, just all kinds of stuff like that. And in the meantime, my asshole boss, who, if there's one good thing after all this is done, I hope he will no longer be with us, but that's another story. But, he's basically just full speed ahead, like nothing's going on. Came into the shop one day during all this and was talking about, it's no big deal. I was out shopping and doing all this. Meanwhile, he's working from home. And, and actually going to try to get us to start a project putting GPSs in snowplow trucks right now. I'm like, why are we fucking doing that? We are filing a grievance and all kinds of stuff. It's just crazy. But for the most part, we feel good about at least doing the police work and the safety services and everything like that. I mean, that you feel like you're helping stuff. Although, going in an ambulance, I mean, I've had to do, on a good day, and then now it's like, oh my God, the back of the ambulance gets decontaminated, but the front of the ambulance where the radio is and stuff, whoa. So, we're full PPE. I mean, as much as we can. The city doesn't provide anything for us. So, but, I'm wearing surgical masks, gloves, goggles. I've got some rubbing alcohol. I spray myself down every time. It's crazy. But,
hey, can I say this? I drive to work every day. And the traffic out there has been down, 70, 80, 90%.
Oh, it's the fucking Autobahn in the morning, 90 mile an hour, and you're getting passed.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I noticed is there's still the same high proportion of asshole drivers out there, even though there's less of them. It's got to be a direct proportion of drivers out there are assholes. So there's still 65% of the drivers are assholes, even though there's 90% less drivers.
Right.
So that's a direct corollary.
Yeah. And it's turned into Los Angeles-style driving techniques where today I was doing a lot of driving with the truck, and I'm doing the driving with the truck and the trailer on, and everywhere I went today, I had like 4 bikes. So I had, 2 bikes in the back of the truck and 2 bikes on the trailer. And so when I do that, I like to hang around 60, 65 miles an hour just to keep everything together. And yeah, it's hilarious how many people are just blasting. I mean, they're definitely turning it up. And on Lorraine, so you guys know where our shop is, it's always like in front of our store, for some reason, Lorraine is like a display of speed all the time. And so the number of people that are just, they're showing you everything they've got all day long because they know the police aren't going to chase them.
Well, however,
I saw some state police out on 90 because I ran out to the Lowe's out there. I was trying to get canisters for Eric's his mask because he's just using freaking paper mask. I don't know, it's crazy, but there was a state trooper actually trying to slow the traffic down. They could be out there just parked on the side of the road. They don't necessarily have to actually pull anybody over, but people would slow down if at least there was visibility. But they're out. I mean, I don't know. When I'm driving to work in the morning, it's like Lakewood to Newburgh Heights is about less than 10 minutes.
Wow. We're all over 482.
It's definitely the Autobahn. At least it's not Mad Max yet.
Yeah.
There's nobody throwing sprockets. Nobody's throwing a sprocket through my windshield.
At least for me, it's been like, my work is digital anyway, so I just started this week working from home. So it hasn't been a big change. The only thing is that I'm a just animal of just habit. So I just wake up the same time, do the same routine. I get on the car, drive around the block, and then come back. And then I turn on my laptop because
So Renee told me that. Renee told me that you are literally waking up, getting in your car, and driving around the block.
Just up to that point when I get up to the car, it's exactly the same as like any other day.
Yeah.
Then I go back and then I start my day, even though officially I'm starting like 30 minutes before because there's a 30-minute commute that I go to the office. So I'm doing exactly the same thing, and then I start my day. The days have been longer because just the workload, nothing to do with the virus or anything, but just the workload in general has been picking up a lot. But yeah, that definitely. I just love my routine, and I don't want to fuck it up because I have really bad sleeping patterns. Mm-hmm. So if I start waking up later, or not do the same thing, it'll skew me over, and for me to pick it up again, it's gonna be hell. So I just.
Oh, see,
I feel sorry for you, Oscar, because I could fall asleep in 30 seconds at any time. So if I close my eyes for 30 seconds, I'm asleep.
The only time I can do that is when I'm sick, and if I do that, because the problem is that I have is that I used to work at least for 2 or 3 years the graveyard shift from 7 p.m. to 7 in the morning for 2 solid years. So that screwed me up because when I was doing that, I had a girlfriend at the time, and every time that those were 3.5 days. So over the weekend, I shifted like my wake up pattern, like totally the opposite. Every week for 2 years, I was shifting, like sleeping over mornings and nights, like every other week. So that screwed me up really bad. So now if I fall asleep during the weekend for like 30 minutes, like you're saying, my hours, as soon as I wake up, 8 hours after that, then I can fall asleep. So it just shifted like really bad, like harsh. So I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, the swing shift sucks because I did that for years, and I would work 2 days on, like from 6 to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and then I would take 2 days off, and then I would come back 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So then every time I would come in, I would come in on an opposite shift. Just leave it open.
I think that's called your circadian rhythm.
Well, yeah, it sucks. And the 2 days, you could do 2 days. But if you have to work 3 days in a row, like you did 3.5 days, 3 days fucks you all up. But 2 days you can do. I mean, anybody can do that for 2 days straight.
So, Hoffert, is 3 days then equivalent to a bottle of Weller?
I wish I had that bottle of Weller. I'll trade you that Woodford Reserve for that Weller right now.
He's trying to just pass it along. Just
Here, have a sip.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
See, I've been loving this, man, because I usually get up at 6, leave the house at 7, and we got to get the kids ready and everything. The kids are home. I don't have to go anywhere. So I get up at like 7:59. I just roll in front of my computer at 8.
So I have friends from where I used to, well, this is the same company, but from Milwaukee, that they usually get into the office, I don't know, 8, because they lived in Chicago and have to commute all the way to Milwaukee every single day. So I've been logging into the machine at 5:30 in the morning. They're already there because they don't have to do any of that shit now. They don't have an hour commute. They don't have to worry about that stuff. So just logging in earlier and then just getting their day just way earlier than they used to.
Well, I've been going in later because, and I always wake up at 3 in the morning and go to work.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck it. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to try to stay as healthy as possible so that I don't get sick.
Yeah.
So I go in, I'll just sleep till whenever I can sleep. So some days I wake up at 5, I go to work. Some days I wake up at 8, I go to work. I'm like, this is actually nice for me because I don't feel like obligated.
I've been sleeping great. My wife's been staying over at the mother-in-law's house.
No.
Because,
Well, I don't blame her.
well, they were providing 24/7 care for mother-in-law now.
Right.
She got,
That's exactly it. And
Yeah, so that's
they kicked her out of the hospital.
Right. Yeah,
Because
they're talking about the same thing for my mom too, because we pulled her out of the nursing home because nursing homes are so risky right now.
well,
And
you
my
can't you can't get any access to them.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
locked
And so
down.
my sister's staying in town until Monday, but then after Monday, we got to figure out a way to get round-the-clock care for my mom. And so we're talking about, somebody kind of among the people that are up here around her, spending overnights, a couple of nights a week. So.
Peggy's been doing it every night. She's going to stay home tonight. Woohoo!
Yeah.
But we found a way around things. Put mother-in-law's deaf, so after she goes to bed.
Oh, really?
Hey, Nick Divitto. Nick, can you help Hoffert with his garage? Get that cleaned up a little bit?
I know. Just looking at that. I want to know what the fuck that's set up because I think he has a burner down there. He's like, what are you burning over there?
Wait, quiet. He's back.
Oh, shit.
I heard my name, and I was going over to have a tech tip for people, but I was going to pull some parts out.
Oh, okay.
So what's your setup that you have back there? Do you have some burner? Are you making some
Homebrew.
focus? Come on.
That's my. That's how I make beer.
It looks like a shit system.
It is. It's not like Kromke's because he's the man. I respect everything he says about brewing. So I sterilize everything. I do everything the way I'm supposed to do it. But I have a one keg. I can make like 10 gallons of beer at a time, and it's hard for me to heat. So,
Steve, I'll tell you anything I know about beer, and if I don't know it, I'll just make it up.
well, more than I know. So
A true snob.
I have a good batch right now, and it still tastes good. So, I've been testing it. It tastes really good. So,
Nice.
Hey,
I just
I was going to say, hey, Steve, if you need burners to heat up your stuff, let me know because I got a couple at my house that'll get it ripping and roaring for you.
well, my problem is the last time I brewed, it was like 0 degrees out. So my when I was trying to half a bottle of Woodford Reserve is but when I was trying to convert the sugars, I couldn't get I got the temperature up to 154, but it dropped really fast. So I ended up doing a lot of alpha instead of beta conversion, and it made a lot of alcohol, but it's really dry. But I like dry beer anyway, so it doesn't matter.
All right.
I just bought 20 feet of copper tube. Guess what I'm going to do with that?
Meet a new girl.
Make
I
a
think
worm,
Ooh!
aren't you?
I think I'm going to mess around doing some distillation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Little hobby.
Yeah, a little something like that.
Yeah, I'm definitely. I really thought that when this whole thing started, that I'd be ending up spending a lot more time around the house. I thought that but no, it's really not. We added the whole idea of doing free pickups for the service department, and so if you guys can take a look and see what's behind me.
What do you
Does
got?
anybody recognize that bike?
Yep.
I recognize it.
Chris?
Yeah. So that's Chris's bike, and I got that out today. Pulled that out of the warehouse and cleaned it up. And
How's it run?
oh, it's fantastic. And I took it out for a ride around the neighborhood, and it's one of those things that I know it sounds silly, but of all the bikes in my life that I have truly enjoyed riding, this particular motorcycle, this Kawasaki Drifter, it's not. It violates all the rules. It's a cruiser, and it's not fuel injected, and it just does everything really well, and it's light on its feet. It's not heavy like a cruiser, so it feels.
It's only an 800.
It's 800 cc. Yeah, which by today's standards, I guess would be small, but it pulls like a freight train. It makes really good sound, and it's very fun to ride it around. And it's just one of those things that I got to ride this bike today, and I rode about 4 or 5 different motorcycles today, and by far, this was absolutely my favorite bike to ride.
Guess who I bought that from?
Dude, I'm telling you, whoever set you up with that bike was somebody who was looking out for you.
That's right. Do you remember how much that bike cost me?
It wasn't very much money.
1200 setup, or that 1500 setup. That 800 motor is a sweet motor.
Yeah, the 800 motor it's a really, really sweet motor.
800 cc seems to be like there's a sweet spot with every motorcycle that was ever 800 cc's.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that one.
You kind of don't need anything over 800, to be honest.
What do you need it? It'll do over 100. It'll be fine. It's fine, and it doesn't stress anything. So it's good for longevity. It's good for.
So 750s just won't cut it. It has to be 800.
No, I'm not saying that. But look at the VT. Look at the VT 800, and the same. Basically, the engine that's in the PC 800 and the VT 800. Although that was only a 4-speed.
Right.
But those were very sweet motors that were they were super balanced. In a V twin. A 750. I guess you could say the V4s were 750s, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of V4 750s, V twins. I mean, but I mean, look at the V twin Hondas. They put out like 50 horsepower.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah, this
cows are
bike
better.
Yeah. This bike is a really, really fun bike, and it's one of those ones. If anybody ever wants to light up and tell me how wrong I am about this motorcycle, because you're right, I wouldn't look twice at a normal Kawasaki Vulcan 800, a normal one. But the Drifter, for some reason, I'll take all that silly Indian,
I was about to say,
did
did they drive by Indian just going like this the whole time when they made that?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Even has the frills on the seats.
Yeah, it's a really.
I made those
I like
myself.
I like it that it's clean and it doesn't have any saddlebags or any of that bullshit. It's just a clean, streamlined bike. You can see the lines.
Yeah.
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 Good job.
And it's got the feet pedestals, which are nice, the floorboards.
Yeah, no, and I'm either I'm 50-50 on floorboards. I don't necessarily need floorboards on this bike. They look right because of the inspiration behind the bike. Is that vintage retro Indian, with the valanced fenders and the Art Deco style. But it is fun riding it around today. I had ridden the Harley Davidson Fat Boy that we took in on trade. I had ridden the big BMW, the K1200 RS. I had ridden a genuine G400C, and I had ridden this bike. And of all those bikes, this one was the one that was the Goldilocks principle was right there. That's the one.
Just right.
Yeah, just right. Absolutely just right. So perfectly fun.
Now,
Phil, and if you remember when I bought that from you, and it had to be about 6 or 7 years ago,
Yeah,
it had 3,000 miles on it,
right.
and the cost was $3,000.
Mhm.
I thought, holy shit.
Yeah, it was a no-brainer deal. I mean, and now these things are starting to really pop. Their value's coming back. They become a cult bike.
Yeah. And you found that in Burton.
Yeah, that was out in Burton.
Original owner.
Yep.
And the other thing I like about it is it's completely debadged.
Yeah. Yeah, it truly is. In fact, I think I have your badges in
we
the
don't
cabinet
need
behind me.
badges. Got 'em.
Yeah. But I was just gonna comment. It was just like it was the perfect bike for today. It had the windshield on because it's still chilly out. It's still cold, so that was it was the perfect bike to take a spin on today. Anybody else get any riding in today?
I took my daughter out on the Buddy for a neighborhood cruise, and that was about it. But never lets you down. The Buddy's a fun bike too, always.
Mm-hmm.
I fit 6 12-packs on my PC or my C70.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
70. So when you need 72 beers, the right bike to have is a C70.
A beer per cc.
More in too, but they ran out. I took all the truth they had. So.
Oh, jeez. So you have 72, 7.9% beers just sitting around, huh?
Well, my wife came home, so there's probably half of them left.
Yeah. He's got 40 left now.
No, but I have those expandable baskets on the side, so they fold in close. I mean, those are the best things. I wish I could find some more of those, but
Right.
But I got them from some kid in like Strongsville who's he had a moped, and it wasn't cool to have those baskets on the side.
Right.
But man, they're the coolest things ever made. I mean, a 12-pack fits in perfectly, and you could slide 4 12-packs on each side.
What?
Wow.
Must not have tried that.
My God.
Yeah, man, I guess here, wait, here,
Right?
here you go.
It's like it was made for that.
I mean, you think that's 96 beers.
Expanded. Come on,
Somebody
guys. There we go.
engineered it
Holy
that
shit,
way.
those things are huge.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
fuck
that's
yeah.
exactly it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
That is a lot of space.
You could also get 46 chickens to market.
And a pussy.
Your family.
Take your
It's like
cat
an
to the vet.
adventure cub.
Yeah. You can take a cat to a vet, dog to somewhere if you have to.
I'm afraid we're gonna get a dick pic from Grumpy Sore Guy.
No. Oh, talking about dick pics. Did we get any email from Rant or the new Rant?
The new Rant. Let me go ahead and I'll read you what activity we've had
Shit.
over the past few days. Things have quieted down a bit.
Really? I thought it was going to be the other way around since people are actually working from home. So.
Big Ben wants to make sure that we know that, according to Yahoo.com, the Honda ADV 150 is now available in the U.S. as of April 2nd. The ADV 150 motorbike is officially available on U.S. shores. It's here. I mean, it's real.
Yesterday.
There it is. So if anybody's interested in getting a 150cc, very tall looking scooter. They call it the Honda City Adventure concept. And there you have it. So
how much is it?
Let me pull it up here. It's in this particular listing, it looks like it's got everything. I mean, it is essentially, they said it's what you get when you cross an Africa Twin and a PCX 150. And it does actually, it says this was actually designed specifically for Steve Hoffert.
That's right in the marketing material.
Apparently,
they should have called it the Steve and Go.
Yeah, apparently it's available for 149,000 Filipino pesos or whatever they use. But yeah, so that's the game. Yeah, so it doesn't say it does not say a U.S. price on there, but it does. I mean, it looks the business, and it's got a really badass digital display. You know, it's pretty cool. And
does it have an electric windshield?
It looks like it does, yeah. Although the windshield looks,
I'm going to go to Dale tomorrow and see if I can order one.
The windshield looks really small.
Wait, don't shake your head, Oscar.
It's got rear remote reservoir shocks that say Showa on the side.
Oh wow,
that's kind of cool. So that's kind of a nifty looking thing. So yeah, so there you have it. So that's a new tip from our friend Big Ben. Super cool. And that was not joking though. We've had some stuff. If you guys have a second, I'll read this to you. This is, again, we have heard from this fellow before. This is Drew Davis from Northwest Ohio, but he's not there anymore. And he said,
Rand.
Hold on. Yeah. Sorry guys, there's not going to be any Rand today. There's no Rand, right? Which causes me a small amount of concern, but no Rand.
Oh well. As long as his money keeps coming in, who cares?
Hey, Sleepy, where the fuck are you?
What?
Yeah.
Where are you?
Yeah, who's in your background there, buddy?
Man.
It's here we go. It's holy shit. I'm sorry I got carried away. Next time I'll text when I'm off the Jameson and not riding on an adrenaline high. Y'all are amazing, and I've listened to all your episodes twice through. I sell and service ambulances and spend a lot of time on the road and love what you guys got going on. I've also met you guys at Mid-Ohio when we had the V7 out there selling raffle tickets. Phil, you are the man, but you heathens need to take it easy on Cam.
What?
Why on earth should we take it easy on Cam?
So he says, I'll try to have a beer with y'all at Mid-Ohio. And so today at 11:23, he said, how's it going, Cleveland Moto brethren? All is well in my neck of the woods. I hope that you and yours is healthy and safe from this ridiculousness. Thank you for reading my email on the previous podcast. I love the Brady Bunch music. That was a classy touch, gentlemen. One small thing, though. You never got around to answering my question as to whether or not there are any known issues to get ahead of or critical failures that you've seen regarding the FJR. Not trying to be a pain in the ass, just wanting to take care of my bike and keep it on the road for miles to come. Not necessary to read it on the podcast. Y'all are awesome and keep it up. Please and thank you for your input. Possible topic for conversation: best riding schools for experienced riders, best riding schools for new riders. With the new season coming up, it would be wise for riders to brush up on their skills, and I'm also wanting to grow my skill set to ride even faster and take even more chances. Also, Phil, I feel as though I'm no longer worthy to be in your presence until I step up my hat game considerably. Oscar, what kind of chair is that? That shit looks comfy as fuck. And Cam, love the Terminator shades. Nicely done, sir. So,
Okay, the first thing is he should notice that we never answer questions.
And two or three of us are just chopped liver, apparently.
Yeah.
All right, so the chair is a zero gravity chair, and it is comfy as fuck. So just look it up. Zero gravity chairs, worth the money. They're not that expensive. Good stuff.
good stuff.
Did you have that like with your old CRT monitor suspended over you so you could sit back?
Of course I did. Come on.
Regarding his FJR, realistically, FJRs are legendary. It's one of the first bikes where Yamaha had everything together in the same pile, and there's very few fucking problems with these things at all. The best thing I could say about FJRs is you could probably go 30%, maybe 40% over on when it says for valve train maintenance and be safe, without panicking. But, you don't let it go for double the interval, but you can go a little bit longer than you should and be totally safe. They're really fucking great motorcycles. They're just, it's Yamaha. I mean, they have earned that status that we used to say Honda, and we're like, yeah, it's going to be fine. It's a fucking Honda. And Yamaha definitely now has that. They have achieved that level of that reputation for reliability.
I'm a big Honda guy, but I'm definitely very Yamaha curious. It's definitely my number 2 brand. Yeah. There's definitely lots of Yamahas that interest me, especially the FJR. And, I've ridden the FCO, my buddy's FCO9, and boy, I don't know. When I start sizing up bikes, like what would, if I was going to buy a new bike, a lot of times it bounces between Hondas and Yamahas.
Yep.
I know my second brand is Kawasaki.
Is your second brand Kawasaki?
No, just because I started out on one, and I don't know why I like it. I mean, I guess they say that what you start out on is what you like. But, I mean, Honda, I have mostly Hondas, but Kawasaki's are okay. And I've never had an issue with one.
Kawasaki's have always had pretty good performance in my estimation. Like, they always went pretty fast. They always seemed to have good acceleration. And
then they killed you.
But I don't know. I mean, aside from like the KZ900s, I kind of like those. It just none of them have ever jumped out as being like a really neat looking or cool bike to me. I don't know. What's a super duper Kawasaki that you really like besides a KZ900?
I gotta say that for me, for Kawasaki's, the concourse is always going to be
right.
That's a high watermark. So the concourse has always been exactly what you want it to be. And I was just given a love fest for the Drifter. So
yeah. And well, like the WS650, that's an old bike, but
yeah,
I don't know. There just hasn't been a lot. There's been a lot of melees I don't know why I don't really get into Kawasaki very much. And then Suzuki might as well not even exist in my world. I can't.
They're like, hey, for 2021, we're going to do another color scheme on the DR650. Congratulations.
For Suzuki, though, what I will say is the ones that they do stick with. So like the SV650 is magic, and it is magic, and all SV650s have been magic. And the DRs are as absolutely as unfuckwithable as a KLR. It's literally just, left channel or right channel when it comes to KLR versus DR.
Well, that's what I was just thinking. I sat there and kind of dismissed Kawasaki, but I'm like, oh, but there's the KLR 650, but that's just the bread and butter bike, but it's a heck of a good bike. So,
yeah, it is. I mean, so like every manufacturer does have something that they do have an excellent reputation for. So that's
I haven't owned a Yamaha, but I think I'm on the same boat with Johnny Mac. I mean, I've owned Hondas, but it's just aesthetics of a Yamaha. I like the line. I like the designs, and I think that will be my go-to next one after a Honda. The fuck, dude.
I do like the fact that when Steve set the podcast up for us last week, or when he set up the the YouTube, that we did have all the 9 channels going at the same time.
Yeah, that was good.
I like that because rather than having a camera that pans around to different people, which is fucking great, there's 9 things, or in this case, 8 things people can fucking look at.
We're missing one.
Nope. Dan said, you know what? It's going to be too easy for you to sync all the audio, so I'm going to come and go about 3 times just to make that a lot more fun for you.
Going to make it a lot more fun.
Yeah.
I'm not done yet.
So it's funny. I got a message from AMA Vintage Days yesterday that said, "We assure you that we are still taking your money for your booth spaces."
You can bet on that.
They are.
Of course they are. Yeah, they'll sell you a camping space too, probably too.
Oh no, it was extraordinarily well established that they were open for fucking business, and that until you heard otherwise from them, they were planning on going ahead full steam ahead for this year's AMA Vintage Days.
Well, that's the way it's happening.
And the good part they announced today for Ohio is that it's going to peak. Hopefully, they say mid-May here, and kind of go down. That's the estimation of what's going to happen.
Yeah, but if you look at the 1918 flu, the Spanish flu that killed all these people, St. Louis was ahead of the curve, and they did exactly what Ohio did, but their curve flattened very rapidly, and they were fine. But then as soon as they let people out, they had a huge secondary curve.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as great as the first curve. It was slightly less than the secondary or first curve, but you can't go back. They're not going to be able to let anybody back out.
Right.
Until there's a vaccine, you have to stay like this. Otherwise, if you go back out and start hanging out and open up the restaurants, it takes off like it would have taken off the first place.
Yep.
Right. They're going to have to get a serology test to see if you already have the immune.
The antibodies, yeah.
Yeah, the antibodies.
My first girlfriend in high school works for Abbott Laboratories. Buy that stock. They're the ones who just announced a 5-minute COVID test. So in 5 minutes, they can tell whether you got it.
Wow.
They got emergency FDA approval for it, and they're supposed to be distributing those soon.
Well,
Hudson Hedges said they have a tobacco-based vaccine for this thing.
Okay.
wow.
I like tobacco.
Immediately, what they could do, though, is you could be doing blood transfusions if you got the money, and somebody who's gotten healthy, you could do a blood transfusion, and you can get the antigens that way. So that's an immediate way to get a vaccination like that. But
Well, I say if Mid-Ohio doesn't happen, that week we all get the same bottle of some whiskey, and then we do a podcast that starts with everybody cracking the bottle, and we stay on until the bottles are gone or somebody.
Uh-oh.
Oh, my God.
Oh, so it's going to be a 20-minute podcast? What the fuck, man? Come on.
Podcast
So
for
Phil, you should ask the AMA Vintage Days people.
everybody needs to pace themselves.
Ask them if they'll take a post-dated third-party out-of-state check.
Right, exactly. And this is, and we today was the day that they launched the program, or they were supposed to launch today, the program for the small business loans, the payroll protection loan that I'm sure everybody's heard about. That's going to give business owners the ability to have a loan that will cover 2.5 months to their payroll, which is great because I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I'm in the motorcycle industry. And in the past 30 days, we have sold fuck all in the way of new bikes compared to where we're supposed to be for, March and April. Mm-hmm. And it's been service only trying to pay the bills. And today we went on Chase, JP Morgan Chase's site, and we went on KeyBank's site to participate in the SBA loan. And the idea was that these $350 billion was supposed to be distributed out through all of these SBA-approved lenders. And it was to start this morning at open of business hours. And it turns out only one bank, Bank of America, was the only bank that was actually letting you fill out the application and approving people for their applications. And they were only doing it for their customers that had existing accounts. because J.P. Morgan Chase and KeyBank and other banks had felt that this SBA loan wasn't a good enough deal for them. So rather than straight up saying we're not participating in this, which would be un-American, they instead said, "Oh, we're having trouble getting the form right, and the form doesn't work right. So hang in there, and we'll get this form to you guys. We'll let you know as soon as we have it figured out. As soon as enough applications are done to make that $350 billion go away."
Don't touch your face.
I can't hear you.
Don't touch your face.
I can't hear you.
Hey, are these
What? Alone? I can't hear you. You have to call me back.
are these the same banks that got bailed out back in 2008?
Yes, they are. In fact,
free government money.
Yeah, J.P. Morgan Chase is, of course, one of the biggest. So
you want something that's forgivable. They were talking about doing like loans that would be forgivable after so many years. Like, you know what I mean? Like
this is exactly the program that we're talking about. And the idea behind that is that loan. So far, I only know of one bank that we found today that was allowing people to participate in that. One, you had to be their existing customer, so nobody could come in who wasn't their existing customer. And two, people say $350 billion sounds like a lot of money, and it is a fuck ton of money. But it's going to go away really quickly because fat cat monster businesses that have a $2 million payroll every pay period, they qualify for this as well.
But I thought it was capped at $10,000.
No, it's not. It's
small business versus big business.
Yeah, because the one that I applied for was 10,000. It's capped at 10,000.
Right.
Maybe for you, but not for big business.
No, the 10,000.
I'm a small business, but the reason I applied for it is because I'm not charging my customers right now because they can't, like half of them are shut down, but I still have to do my job and they can't pay me. So
well, the payroll,
I'll take this loan and I'll float you the service over the next few months, and I won't charge you for it, but I'll take this loan to keep me going, and then we'll see what happens.
There's a disaster relief loan that you can get that has nothing to do with payroll. That's totally separate. That is for any amount of money you can get approved for. But the payroll one is specifically 2.5 months of your average payroll, and it's not capped at 10,000. You can get 10,000 right now. Like $10,000 just shows up. That's the like, we're going to make you okay now, and then we'll get the rest of it to you once the loan gets through and approved and everything else.
Right.
Well, but the 10,000 is the limit, and they're calling that like, and it says, would you be willing to take, or would you be interested in taking an advance of $10,000 on the amount that you're going to justify later? So
I'm just trying to help my customers. I mean, that's all I'm doing. I mean,
believe me,
that's my only goal. I mean, I'm not trying to make any
Bill,
money,
if you claim that you closed your business, do you think you could collect unemployment?
I can't, because I'm the CEO, so I'm the president of the company.
Yeah.
So because I'm the owner of the company, and here's the ultimate irony is, in 2018, I got paid $20,000. So I made $20,000 in 2018. And in 2019, I took a check for $20,000, which I haven't cashed because I'm an idiot. And I've always kind of done it this way.
On it.
I mean, you said it, not me.
Right. But I've always done it this way. It's just sort of been this way. I can't be healthy or I can't be happy unless the shop is happy. And I spend my money and I get my money from cash deals and everything else. It's not like I'm fucking penniless. So
Allegedly.
Yes. But that is the thing. And I don't qualify for the unemployment package, which is pretty lucrative. So the unemployment package is pretty great for people who are out of work, but I can't get that. So our staff can get that. I can't get
Peggy
that.
just got her first check. It was $450 or something like that.
Yeah.
But then now they're talking there might be another check on top of that, like a $600 check from the feds.
Right.
That's per week.
Correct.
So you could be getting $1,000 per week in unemployment.
Exactly.
I'm like, I hope we never go back to work. I hope she never goes back to work. That's beautiful.
Right, and you can get that. She can get that, but I can't get that. So I'm not eligible for that because I'm the owner of a corporation.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of knew that
Yeah.
was, you know.
Don't fucking think I didn't try. I filled the fucking form.
I feel like if the
Just
government
because the doors are closed doesn't mean you can't still
That's
make
right.
money on the side. I mean, bikes can still be sold even while you're.
I kind of feel like if I'm still working, like I'm employed by the city, that I should give my check to somebody that doesn't have the money that, you know, whatever. I mean, I kind of feel guilty about it because I still have a job.
I don't feel so guilty.
Yeah, but you're still, I mean, the thing is, we're still working and we don't, I mean, our lives, I mean, look at how many people here raise their hands when they said we're still working like 40 hours
still
a
fucking
week.
working, yeah.
But I mean, there's like
I will say this. I mean, if somebody was really desperate or ran out of something or you really needed something, certainly anything I have, I would try to help out anybody. You know, if you're out of toilet paper, let me know. I probably could spare a couple of rolls there.
Maybe a couple squares.
squares.
I'm sorry, no masks. I'm keeping all the masks.
How are you guys doing on PPE? Are you guys wearing like masks and gloves and stuff, or?
I'm glad you brought that up. So let's start with Nick. So Nick, what's your personal stance on mask and glove? What's your protocol?
Personally, I went to the grocery store today. I did not wear masks or gloves or anything like that. I did see a lot of people wearing that stuff. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I think if I had it, I probably would. But I don't have any.
I'm currently, because I don't have anything and they're talking about this mask thing, I printed 2 masks today on my 3D printer.
Yeah.
One's pretty cool. Like I'm making it bigger for myself to kind of go this way, but the one that I made fits my wife. But I have to go to Home Depot and you have to get like a it's like a MER 13 or something. Like it's a certain furnace filter that's a HEPA filter as well.
Right.
And it goes up. I think it's like they have 2,000 and 3,000 and there's different levels of it. But
You can get all the way up to MERV 31, which is like it filters out everything.
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter with you, Steve, because your beard's gonna.
Yeah,
You're never going to get a good fit.
I know, and that's one of the things that I was reading about. But I'm more concerned about them. But anyways, it's pretty cool because like it actually printed the whole mask and it has the holes on the side and it has these things. So you cut little pieces of it and you push them in there, and then that's where like the breathable part becomes. And it's pretty neat. So I printed those. But I want to get a cattle prod. That's more important when you go places, just to get people away from you when you're in the stores. Some of these people are
right,
man.
I was in the store and I'd be just walking down an aisle and then all of a sudden someone would sort of cut me off and I'd be like just like whoa, like
yeah. Well, dude, Whole Foods. I don't go to Whole Foods a lot, but there's a few things that I have to get at Whole Foods that they don't carry anywhere else, and the whole store is cordoned off by 6 feet painter's tape. They have like painter's tape every 6 feet. And you'd see these idiots. So I'm waiting for this lady. She's like 2 painter's tapes away from me, and she's at the end of the aisle, and I'm waiting for her. Three other people just surround me, and they're like, what's the hold of them? I'm like, I'm waiting for her. They're like, well, just go. And like, they go and stand an inch behind her. And I'm like, you guys are fucking idiots. Like the whole, look down. They sectioned the whole store off. Stay in your fucking section, man.
Stay in your lane. End of the laneway.
Yeah, end of the laneway, buddy.
I will say that when I was in the store, I was shopping with a purpose in mind. Like I was not dilly-dallying or anything like that. I was not touching anything unless I was actually going to buy it. I was, consciously trying to keep distance. But
and box stores had to tell people. People were going because they were bored. They were going to open box stores and browsing. Just, walking around, touching things, looking at shit, doing stuff. It's like, come on, man.
Well, Steve, when you talk about the furnace filters, I actually did get a 26 by 22 furnace filter and just wrapped it around my head like that.
Perfect.
I would just walk through the whole thing. And then no gloves or this was my mask, and then I did wear a condom, too.
Yeah.
You can pull them right over your head.
Yeah.
Nick, if you need an N95, I can get you one.
Quiet. Don't talk
I
that
have
way.
a bunch of N95s, so.
All right.
I've got a stack of like Harbor Freight dust masks in my garage, and I don't think they'd be good for anything.
The problem is,
I like the link that Cinch had. I read that whole thing, and they were talking even a T-shirt gives you at least 50% capacity. You know what I mean? Like anything you'd use helps to some degree.
Yeah.
You know, and if you layer it up more, you know, then there's that. Well, I was trying to understand that chart.
Yeah.
To see what they meant. Like, is that dirty filters, like the bottom level where it's 10%? What are we saying about that?
No, what we're saying about is of these 5 different media of filters. This is a study that was done last year before all this shit kicked off. And this Asian company, because of course, you know, our Asian friends have been wearing masks for many years. But because they had to deal with MERS and SARS. So as a result,
air pollution.
Yeah, well, yeah. But as a result of MERS and SARS, masks became a real fucking hot topic for them a few years ago. And they put a lot of money, time, and effort into researching it because it's really interesting how history repeats itself. If you look back a few years, you'll see that our Asian friends had a problem where they couldn't get enough of these motherfuckers. And
well, they say our federal stockpile is still depleted from 2009 when the bird flu was up.
Yeah, so that's exactly right.
You had 11 years to replace the stockpile, and you didn't do it.
Yeah, and I mean, I bought these probably 6 or 7 years ago. So these have been sitting in my garage like a 10-pack or whatever for 6 or 7 years. But the one thing that I find it interesting, Chris, you work in that industry.
Yeah.
When you go to work every day, where are you going?
I'm never anywhere near patients, number one.
Right.
So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, I've lived a full life, and no, it's. I don't know if you guys read, but somebody was arrested in New Jersey just either yesterday, and he had 1 million, like, gloves and masks. And,
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah, and the cocksucker was selling this stuff out of a garage.
Yeah.
And some physician goes by to buy $21,000 worth of this stuff and sees this big lot of all this junk and called the cops. So the FBI arrested this guy and hauled him out, and now they're just passing it out in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Yeah.
Right.
So
there's a guy on Craigslist selling surgical masks 50 for $30.
Yeah.
And Peggy looked up the address. It looks like it's a dentist who's probably hurting because those guys don't manage their money well.
No.
And he's probably starting to sell off his inventory just to try to keep his bills paid and stuff like that.
Well,
He wants to make the note on his new Corvette that he just got. The new
N95s right now.
2017 Harley is what he's trying to pay off.
Oh, true.
These on eBay right now are $40 a piece.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's.
Well, and
No.
did you guys hear that you can take them? So, like, unless you're face deep in the virus, if you're concerned that it was contaminated, you can bring it home and put it in the oven at 160 degrees for an hour, and supposedly that kills everything.
Yep.
Well, you got to use shallots and some garlic too.
Yes.
First of all, that's bullshit. 160 degrees doesn't kill everything. It might kill this virus, but it definitely doesn't kill everything.
Coronavirus dies at 133 degrees from what the CDC says.
Right. So, okay, so maybe it's just this virus, but they're just saying, like, instead of throwing a mask out that you think might be dirty, just bake it for like an hour, and then you can use it again.
Well, there you go. So just get a
The
fever
problem
to
with this is-
133 degrees, and you'll be fine.
I spray mine down with 77% alcohol, and I have more than one. You know, we have access to some of them, but I'm trying to reuse them because we don't have a year's worth of supplies. We don't have, and I'm looking at this long term. I mean, like I said, I don't see how this changes without a vaccine, and everybody's saying a vaccine could be up to a year away. So I think with the urgency of it, somehow that's going to get cut in half. That we're going to somehow say, you know what, we don't necessarily need to do all this all these trials and everything. And that could be a downfall too, because you could make a vaccine that kills almost as many people or more than the disease would, but I don't know.
So who else has been recently into a Home Depot or a Walmart?
I went to 2 Lowe's, Menards, and 2 auto parts stores today looking for the replacement filters for my buddy's mask because he's an ICU, and he's an ICU nurse, and he's wearing just level 3 surgical masks. And I'm like, dude, you should have something that's like fucking, like something that has hard, vapor, like filters and like a good seal and everything. He's like, I have a mask, but I don't have the cartridges. I'm like, well, right. I'm going to go out on a mission, and I tried everything. I found 2 Honeywell cartridges, but they won't fit on his mask. I'm going to give him my mask because, it's old as shit, but at least it's something. It's better than just wearing a paper mask when you literally walk into a COVID patient's room,
Right.
John, send me the numbers because I can order through Amazon for government.
Yeah.
Well, you might get it quicker because I looked on Amazon, and anything you are ordering on Amazon that isn't, if you're not a government agency or anything, is like you'll get it by May, June sometime. But
I'm a government agency, so you need to give me the number, and I'll order it and get it through the government. I have a government account.
I'll text you that information.
Yeah, I'll get it for you. So
yeah.
Hey, the other interesting piece of information.
If he could get and like he sent me a picture of what he's wearing, I'm like, dude, that's not enough. He's like, I know.
Well, all these doctors.
Mask, I wear an organic filter with a heap of filter over that.
That's what I'm trying to get them set up with, and I bought a couple, but they're screw on instead of bayonet style canisters. I thought they might work, but it's not going to work.
You have 3Ms? Because 3Ms
3M 6000 series.
I might have a set of those for him.
Well, if anything you have, would be greatly appreciated because he's working today, he's working overtime tomorrow, and there's 9 patients right now.
What hospital's he in?
I'm not going to say.
So we know that a couple of weeks ago, the message was very clear. Don't wear a mask.
Right.
Yeah.
And that don't wear a mask has been sliding more and more towards wear a mask. Yeah. And the biggest concern was that the fear of panic and the concern over depriving medical professionals from existing resources. And the funny thing is, because when I found this sleeve of masks, I offered them to people I know. And when I offered them to people I know, they had said, no, it's okay. I don't want it. And I said, well, why not? Why don't you want that? It's a fucking N95. This is the thing that actually can protect you at the highest level, short of going in with a positive pressure hood on. And why don't you want this? You should fucking want this, and you should wear it anytime you go into the store, the grocery store, or where there's a lot of fuckers around you, right? And they said, no, they don't want to do it because of the social stigma of, the governor of California saying, oh, a bandana, like wear a bandana, wear cotton around your face, that will work fine. And, there's this sort of what they've done is they've created this fad mentality, and the fad mentality is this is the sign of being an asshole, whereas this is, you're helping, and so it's really, or like making your own out of a coffee filter and a paper towel, which is like 5% effective, is better than wearing one of these. I contacted the hospitals. When I told them I had a few of these, like 6 of these I was willing to give away. Do you know what they said? Go fuck your fucking hat. If it's not in a sealed package, they're not going to take it.
Yeah, I told Eric, I'm like, you save every one of your masks. He's like, why? He laughed at me, and I'm like, because they're going to be really hard to get. He's like, yeah, I know. We're starting to get short on them. I'm like, yeah, so save all your masks. Like, don't throw one at least fill a garbage bag full of used masks and throw them in your locker so you got something in case they run out,
Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't it funny though that they said that the federal government said they sent 300,000 to New York, and they only said they received 10,000. So, like Trump said, they're going out the back door. I mean, people are selling them on the black market.
But you also understand
I read a whole article about that, and actually Amanda posted it, and it was basically all these institutions, hospitals, cities, entities. Well, they don't know. They can't act on a dime with their procurement processes. They're real slow. They have to put things out for bid, and so their procurement process is cumbersome. Yeah. Whereas foreign investors are coming in, and when masks come available, they're snapping them up. My cat's headbutting me. They can snap them up, and they're already gone before any hospital or institution can really jump through all the hoops before they can actually say, yes, we'll give you that much for the mask.
Right before we started the podcast, there was an article on The Guardian saying that like planes that are loaded with like 1 million masks are landing. Mm-hmm. And there's businessmen from different parts of the world offering 5 times what the thing's worth, and the plane's leaving and going somewhere else and dropping the masks off and stuff, instead of delivering them to the U.S. Or I think the U.S. is actually some of the people getting the masks, and they're being, whatever.
I think I didn't read into it, but I saw an article about 3M that they were getting on 3M's ass because 3M was sitting there churning out masks and shipping them out of the country. And so I think they've actually, that's what they're jumping on their ass and be like, no, they got to stay here.
Yeah.
There's only fucking 3 pieces in this mask. I mean, not for nothing, but anybody should be able to make about 1 million of these in a week.
Peggy's been making she went and she can sew, and she's been trying to make the cloth ones and everything, but it's not the same. But that's you could put that over a good mask, and it helps save the good mask, so you can reuse the good mask.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of a shame to me, and it does seem ridiculous that on this basic level of PPE that everyone makes fun of the guy that's got the 50 cal in his basement until somebody needs a 50 cal.
Preppers right now are laughing their ass off. All these preppers are like, you guys all suck. Like, I'm just chilling right now. Like,
Well, I'm chilling. I'm as far as preparedness goes, as far as equipment and things, the best prepper in the world didn't really plan on spending 2 months in his PJs.
Right.
That's not part of the normal prepper mentality. Being in your bunker might not necessarily help you with this one.
This is the worst case scenario.
I just can't believe. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
No. I was saying that virus was the worst case scenario. Like, you could plan for almost everything else. Economic collapse and all this other shit. But virus is something that it's like an unseen killer that you. It's not like social unrest or all this other stuff that you could prep for, right? Or like lack of food or lack of water or EMP.
I disagree with
prepared
that.
for all of that stuff, and this is the worst case scenario.
Yeah, but everybody could see this coming. It's been on everybody's radar. There've been movies about it. You know what I mean? Like, we know that's the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Shit, you know what I mean? Like, anybody could have seen we've already had SARS, MERS, we've already had close calls. They should have, somebody in our government has failed us horribly by not at least having some basic PPE available and stuff like that.
I agree with you. I totally agree.
Yeah, look at, what's his face? Bill Gates. He did 4 years ago, he did a huge talk saying that this is coming. And, we need to be prepared. He did a TED Talk on it and, said, he analyzed everything and said that we were, 75% unprepared for this kind of a thing. And everyone's like,
this.
Sounds great.
Fuck Bill Gates. I hate fucking Bill Gates.
But it's a basic law. It's a basic law of nature that a species will breed and breed and breed and breed out of control until they suffer a pestilence that causes a population collapse. And that's just, that's very simple law of nature type of shit that anybody could have banked on. You know what I mean? It's just a miracle that we've gotten away with SARS, MERS, bird flu, and everything. and we haven't gotten really hurt.
This is not that event. This right here is not that event, because this is when
This
it's all said and done.
This is still a wake-up call for the real event that's going to come down the pipe.
No, I agree. I totally agree with that. But this is not the event that's going to cause that, because this is like a 0.5% cull. It's not a 5% cull. It's not a 10% cull.
It's a 10% cull if you get sick in Italy. Their death rate's at 10%.
Yeah, well, their death rate's at 10%, but their median age of death is 80 years old. They're the oldest population in the entire world.
Other than Japan.
Yeah.
We had 1,000 people die in this. 1,000 people die of it today. 365 days a year. If that happens every day, or what usually happens is it's going to probably double at some point. That would be 365,000 people died. That's a lot.
Out of 365 million, that's 1/1,000,000th of the population.
All right.
I mean, I'm not minimizing the fact that anybody's dying, but what I'm saying is that this is not the event. This is not a 12 Monkeys event.
Right.
Yeah.
It's bad, but it's not a 12 Monkeys event.
What's crazy is the way that it's affected our livelihood and the thing that we're into. All of that stuff, if you can make it through this financially intact, you're going to be in a very good place to buy any motorcycle you ever wanted cheap. This would be a really good time to develop a fetish for Cushman scooters.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh God.
No.
Take that for what it's worth. If you were ever fascinated by mid-90s Goldwings, I predict you're going to be able to buy those for free.
Mid-80s Goldwings are my fetish. So.
Yes, but I think the guys with the mid-80s Goldwings, they're gone already.
Oh.
A couple more weeks and you can trade 2 N95s for a 2017 Goldwing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we're getting people calling the shop already, and we're getting the phone calls we normally get at this time of the year where people have that motorcycle they didn't ride very much and they want to trade and they want to get into something different. And what's weird is there's a strange dynamic, and I'm not going to. There's no better word I have for it than boomer.
It's spreading. It's no joke. It's no time to work or roam.
What the hell is that?
What was that?
That's coming through.
Well, so
Mr. T?
No, that's Samuel L. Jackson Reed's coronavirus poem called "Stay the Fuck at Home."
All right. Well, so every time we have these old men that come into the shop, and the old men that come into the shop, they come in pairs, and they come in triples, and they come in quads, and they come in groups. And they're extremely upset that the door's locked. And they're extremely upset that I have a sign that says call this number, and that they call, and I ask them, I'm like, well, yeah, what can I do for you? And I am aggressively helpful. Okay? I'm almost off-puttingly helpful anytime I'm at the store. But especially now when I know there's going to be a glass barrier between them and me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to really, really, really make sure that I find out what exactly they want. But you see, that's not consistent with what they really had in mind for the day. And what they're doing is they just are going out. They're just going out and having an adventure. They're getting together. And we had 2 guys show up in a brand new Corvette. And the guy bought the brand new Corvette. He's a dentist. And he bought the brand new Corvette just before this shit erupted. So him and his buddy came out to my shop. They're both over 70 years old, 65 to 75. And they show up. Now, there's not a lot of room in a brand new Corvette. So they're sucking each other's wind the entire time. And then when I greeted them at the door and made it clear that today was not a day that they could come in and browse, it didn't go well. and I got to hear about politics, and I got to hear about Reds versus Blues and all kinds of other shit. But the point being, I changed my policy at that moment from one person in the store at a time, if they're vetted and I'm watching what they're touching, with a distinct 6-foot radius, to no people,
0
at all, period, because I have every reason to believe you're not buying shit.
At Lowe's, they were wiping off the card reader every time a person touched it. Every time.
Good.
I mean, that's what you got to do, right?
You know what's crazy is that people are criticizing this no matter how, doesn't matter what side you're on or anything. The virus has there's no politics with the virus. Like you can't, it's so bizarre to me that people are trying to politicize this and on both sides, whatever, doesn't matter. But the virus is the virus. It's going to get, like, it doesn't care, you know? It's just so weird.
Let me take a poll on that, because actually the ladies in our office at noon get together to say the Our Father. And so they came by my office and said, hey, you want to come in and say the Our Father with me? I said, no. But I think they believe that somehow saying a few rudimentary prayers are going to what? You know.
I don't know. Well, let me ask you this. Where's all the faith healers right now? How come these guys aren't doing the "and you're cured" and smacking people on the head and all the virus is gone? This should be their shining moment. There should be faith healers walking through the streets, just slapping people on the head and calling it a day, right?
Yes, I have an issue with that too, because like the Catholic Church, okay, you go to get communion, you know, they either hand it to you or they give it to you, and then you drink from the chalice, right?
No, never.
No, I'm just saying, if you're a Catholic, you drink from the chalice, and it's like, if you have faith, then how would you, I mean, if you truly have faith, then why would you even think that you would ever get anything from that chalice, because it's God's blood?
Right.
I mean, if you are a true Catholic, you would believe that
Steve, I can answer that.
God's blood.
Well, the people that have an education would realize that, yeah, you can still get sick.
Right.
No, but what I'm saying is that that how many people really have faith? I mean, it tells you that nobody has faith. Because they don't believe that. I mean, it's God's blood. You're not going to get sick from God's blood.
Yeah, but it's the chalice that carries the germs.
No, I'm just saying that if you had faith, you wouldn't. I mean, I don't know what faith anybody is here, and I don't really care. But raised as a Catholic and as a non-practicing Catholic, I mean, I say that seriously. If you had faith, you would drink from that fucking chalice.
Well, I don't drink from the chalice. I attend Catholic church services, but I'm in protest because I'm a Protestant. I wouldn't become a Catholic because I didn't believe it was actually the blood of Christ. But it doesn't really matter too much right now because all the churches are closed, in fact. So, you know, you could say people of faith are stupid, but at least they were smart enough not to keep the churches open. So
you know, if you don't attend church, then you instantly have a felony on your soul.
The
moral
chalice from the palace has to prove that it's true.
I also don't believe in that. I also actually believe that you can be a person of faith and you don't have to go to church at all. But,
as a Catholic, if you're a true Catholic, if you don't go to church on Sunday,
I'm not a true Catholic. I'm in protest of Catholicism.
I just want to say, as a Satanist, God, you know, he's responsible for plagues and stuff. My God just handles rock and roll, death metal, and orgies. So I'm good.
I love it.
Yeah,
right on.
Perfect. That's perfect.
But you're muted.
Oscar, you're muted. Oscar, you're muted.
Oscar's muted.
God damn it. Here's the problem. How the fuck did Johnny Mac's cat jump into Nick's square?
That's a good point.
That's Satanism.
Oliver, come back here. Come back here, Oliver.
That Cinch really knows how to run a Zoom meeting, I'll tell you that.
Can I please do a tech tip? I mean, this is getting me down.
Yes, that's right.
You got to cock it, Bill. You got to cock it.
Tip.
Okay, so listen. I mean, Johnny
I love you, man.
It's very simple. It's not anything, but this is a pain in the ass to us all. So what is this?
I'm looking at you now.
Hold
A
up to the
pubic
camera.
hair? Oh, that's a full gasket for a small Honda.
Fuel tap gasket.
Right.
It's a gasket for your pet cock.
So for $4 and 2 screws,
Yeah.
you could save a ton of headaches.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So seriously, anybody who owns anything with an old pet cock,
Right.
you can buy this gasket from your dealer or
Right.
from like partsfish.com.
Right. Wherever.
For
Yeah.
$4.
Right.
Take 2 screws out.
Yep.
Pull your pet cock out.
Yeah.
Put this thing in,
Yeah.
and it saves you
Yeah.
so much time and so much headache.
Just
You said
make
cock.
sure to grease that thing before you put it in.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I'm just saying the old ones are cracked and
Yeah.
hard and whatever. So I mean, this is really something simple that anybody can do.
Right.
You don't
There's
have to
only
have
about 3 different
skill at all.
sizes of them. Make sure you get the right size. There's I think 3 different sizes right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, but I mean, you go by the year and make of your model. I mean, it will give you what you want. But I mean,
Correct.
all I'm saying is it's something simple we can do in the spring. If you have that leaking pet cock, you want it to be closed in the winter so that
Yeah.
you can drain your carbs and run your carbs out, so that you don't have this issue in the spring. So I mean, it's something you
One
can
of
do
the
right
things-
now.
One of the things I like to do on bikes that have vacuum petcocks is I always throw an inline petcock so that I can positively shut off my fuel flow, because
Absolutely.
vacuum petcocks are notorious for leaking down. So if you go to your lawnmower section at your local hardware store, or buy a more quality inline petcock and install it so you can, during the winter months or whenever it's going to be sitting up for a while, actually turn that off to have a positive shut off on a vacuum type setup.
Who
Hey,
paid the lowest? Who paid the
McElfresh,
lowest
your hand
price
is covering
for
your
gas?
camera.
My last gas stop was $1.47.
$1.44.
Your
And that
hand
was
is
not-
covering your
And that was
camera.
not get go.
Did you guys get that text I sent you back on
Yeah.
Wednesday or Thursday?
Yeah, I did.
So over at Memphis and Bel Air, there was 2 gas stations. One was 95 cents, the other was 97 cents.
Yeah,
That was,
exactly.
It was low ball gasoline or whatever it is, rain barrel gasoline. But I was surprised that it was under $1.
So now that we've established that somewhere between under $1 and $1.50 is where we were until today, our nation's economies agreed to fix that problem, reduce the supply, and get the price back up to where Texas billionaires won't suffer as much as they should.
Good for them.
Yeah. Now that they've taken care of that, here's an interesting thing. What do you think that 1 gallon of boat gas, aka Rec 90, was at Edgewater Marina today? Because I bought about 30 gallons of Rec 90 today.
$3.89.
It was $3.69.
Wow.
So it didn't move. So while the regular on the road gas price did this massive plummet and fell, boat gas Rec 90 has stayed exactly where it was 3 months ago. Yeah.
Thank God.
Diesel for the high ace is $2.15. So
Diesel has dropped about 80 cents.
right.
It hasn't dropped as much as the gasoline, but the diesel, which has always been a puzzle for me because diesel is so much cheaper to make than gasoline, why diesel costs more is just, vexing the transportation industry.
Well,
But
they've been getting so much better gas mileage. I get on the highway, and like I said, I'm just like touching the gas pedal, singing along at 80, 90 mile an hour.
Yeah.
And I've been back and forth to work for a week, and I still got a half a tank, and I'm like, wow. It's amazing when you don't have to stop and go or keep speeding up and accelerating, to get around people and stuff.
Well, Mrs. Smith has been staying home, and so she's gotten 3 weeks to a tank.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah, this is exactly it. And if anybody, we were talking about my businesses earlier. My business is all about, in 2008, when gas was $4 a gallon, we did really good. We sold a shit ton of bikes because when gas is $4 a gallon, motorcycles and scooters are the obvious solution to that problem.
100 miles to the gallon becomes very attractive.
Yeah, when gas is $1 a gallon, nobody cares.
Big Hemi engines.
I'm thinking about starting to drive my RV to work and back.
So let me ask you guys this: with all the expert mechanics here and stuff, if there are people that are off work, they're not doing anything, they're stuck at home, they're bored, but they have access to their garage, what is something that, like, if you have a bike or two in the garage, what is something that you can do that you might not need parts for but will help you out in the long run? Like, what can you go and work on your bike? What can you clean? What can you do to, maybe make
you can always make it shinier. You can always make it shinier.
Right. Besides waxing it. Yeah.
Change the freaking oil because you haven't done it for 2 years.
Or if you can't afford new oil, take it out, take a look at it, and put it back in.
Oh,
You can analyze it. Analyze it.
Yeah, I want for $100.
Well, actually, now that the gas is really cheap, take all the old gas that you have in there, put some new gas in there.
Right. Yeah. That's the biggest thing is, obviously at the shop, everything that we see, the vast majority, probably 20 bikes this week, have fuel related problems. It's all just gas management. It's all old gas. That's the thing. We were joking about this earlier and I threw it up to you guys, but how many people have kids at home? Have you got
myself
kids?
included, or
Yeah,
Only myself.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of places have announced that the school year is not going to come back. That these kids aren't going back to the teachers, right? And so you mommies and daddies out there are now officially fully croissant in the eyes of the state as being authorized educators.
Homeschooler. Yep.
Homeschoolers, dude. Yeah, I mean, these kids are all going to be graduating from homeschool university. In June.
My kids have been suspended.
Got fired for being drunk.
That's what somebody just said. Like, what's going to happen in a year when all these kids have been educated by drunk parents?
Right. Yeah, and that really is. So I threw together that list, and I wasn't kidding when I was saying that if you have your kids and your kids are at home, this might be a really good time for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to bond with your children over some motorcycle shit. And as a kid, I was initially like, hey, I got to learn about cars and I get to learn about stuff from my father because he needed somebody to hold the flashlight and he needed somebody to hold the hardware and he needed somebody. And the point is, my mom had a life to live. And so little Phil was out in the garage with big Phil. And as I became taller, my responsibilities grew as well, right? But a lot of kids these days don't spend time in the garage with their fathers rebuilding transmissions from 39 Buicks, right? So kids don't understand what a thrust bearing is, or kids' first 3-syllable word or 4-syllable word. Mine was carburetor. So that's a real story. Ask my mom about it. She loves telling people about, oh no, his first big word was carburetor. But that's the life I grew up in. All the schools focus in science, technology, engineering, and math. And we said simpletons tactically educating minions. And I think that if you do that and you get the kids out in the garage with you, I'm going to post the show notes, the silly thing I put out earlier that Merritt and I put together last night, basically indentured servitude in the form of homeschooling. Has anybody else figured out a great way to use your kids as cheap and legal?
Nope. She's useless.
Oh, come on. Piper School. Come on.
Piper is pretty cool. She has remarkably been doing a lot of schoolwork online. St. Mark's, they have Chromebooks.
Yeah.
So they're putting out, I don't know if it's really a curriculum or if it's just keep you busy or whatever, but she generally every day has at least a couple hours of work that she has to do And I think these kids are, but they're able to, they're doing little conference calls and stuff with their friends, working on it. She, I've heard her online talking with Alicia, and, they're like sitting there going and doing their homework together, and they're amazingly more responsible than I could have ever possibly been at 13 years of age.
Really?
She's being definitely abandoned and abused right now. I mean, she's 13. We've been just kind of like, we're dealing with, I'm going to work. Peggy's dealing with her mom. It's like, okay, you okay at the house by yourself? Oh, yeah, sure. And it's like, okay, sure you need anything? Nope. Don't need nothing. You're good. I'm fine. Wow. So she's kind of just, doing her little thing, and a lot of electronics, a lot of just me time. I've had to have a conversation with her. I'm like, you know what? We really need you to be behaved. I don't want to find out that we've trusted you and you're getting in trouble on the internet, or if something like that comes up, it will break our hearts. So,
right.
But I don't think she'll do it. I mean, I trust her maybe more than I should, but we're not working on motorcycles, but I'm working slowly on building her a she shed. So nice. She's been in the evenings when I come home and we're over at Grandma's, we're working on doing a little she shed that has turned out to be more than just repurpose. It's taking more bought materials than repurposed materials than planned, but it's going to be pretty cool.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
How about
congratulations too, John, for trusting her and giving her the opportunity to show that she's a reliable young lady, because that's going to pay a lot of dividends. So good for you.
Well, that, and my wife reads all of her text messages, because little does she know. Well, she knows that they go to my wife's phone too. So we are trying to monitor and stuff, but but I also feel bad because, I mean, at the end of the day, these kids it was already a problem that they weren't going outside and they were spending too much time on devices, and that they were spending too much time on video games. And this has just made it like, bam, well, you can't really say, well, hey, you can't watch TV or you can't go on the computer, because what the hell else are they going to do,
Yep.
And she's helped out with, a little bit of laundry here and stuff like that. But for the most part, there's just not that much for her to possibly do here.
And it's hard. Like, me and my wife are both home. We have my one daughter. The other two are older, and they're at their mom's house, and they're fine. But, like, she has meetings. I have meetings. We're both on meetings, and this kid's by herself. She's 6. She'll be playing behind me, and she's been pretty good. But what's funny is she started FaceTiming her friends or Skyping her friends. So there'll be like 2 or 3 little girls on a Skype call, and they're all coloring and talking to each other. So it's almost like they're in a room just kind of like playing, but it's like.
Are those the girls behind you that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think they're coloring though.
No. They're done.
I mean, realistically, these kids were more poised to handle it than we would have ever been, Yeah. It would have been crazy for us.
Bullshit.
For me as a child,
bullshit.
We spent so much time outside and everything. If we had to stay inside and we didn't have video games and we didn't have, electronics, it would have been insane. My brothers would have just beat me up 8 hours a day anytime.
I'm gonna beat you up anyway. Come on.
I mean, they did that anyway. So yeah.
Dude, you're absolutely right. I was on a conference call with the guy from my work, and the one guy has 2 kids, and they're a year apart. They're like 4 and 5 boys. And he's sitting there, and our big boss is talking to us, and it was on Zoom like this. All of a sudden, you see a kid just fly that way, and then another kid jump after him, and then shit's just crashing and breaking, and he's trying to ignore it, but you can't. And everybody's like, "Did you just see a kid kill another kid?" They're like, "Yeah, that happens. That's what happens."
Yeah. It's officially okay to bring your pets and kids to work nowadays.
Oh yeah,
especially when you're working from home.
Yep.
Right, Oliver? Oh, headbutt.
There you go.
So are we still doing the podcast or what?
Yeah, I think we should probably do a podcast at some point. Probably not the worst idea. The funny thing is, Merritt will do 40 or 50 of these calls per day, and the problem is sometimes she'll be set up, and she wakes up at her time, and I wake up at my time, and I have to make it from the interstate hallway between the kitchen and between the sustenance center and the business center, and I'll be there, and sometimes there'll be a 2 or 3 cat pileup in the middle of the hallway, but I'm making that commute, and I'm making that commute like in naked or maybe less, and I always got to make sure when I go by to see what her orientation is with the damned laptop.
You gotta watch the angle of your dangle, man.
Yeah, I don't want to become a cautionary tale.
Yeah, right.
Or I don't want to become the reason that our chief breadwinner becomes, incarcerated.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a really, it's a weird time. So it's a weird way to run. It's a weird way to see the way that operates, because my whole world, there's nothing that we do at the shop that we could do through this shit.
Right.
And there's not one fucking bit of it. Like, all this in the world will not help what I do. I could think I'd be like, oh, well, here you go. Here's take a look at this bike and make sure that's exactly what you wanted, right? No, that ain't gonna cut it. That doesn't get the job done.
Although you probably could do virtual bike tours. If somebody's really interested in a bike, you could put them on one of these things and, move the phone.
We have done, we've got a lot of videos on the YouTube channel, and we've got a few bikes that have come in over the past couple of weeks that we're going to be shooting more videos of and throwing up on the Cleveland Moto channel as well. But what I found actually works the best is when I do have somebody who's serious about buying something, I have no fucking problem with dragging that bike outside along with 2 or 3 other bikes outside and saying, like, okay, well, here's 1, 2, and 3, and 4. These are all the bikes that you've kind of told me you were into. And I'm actually totally great with the idea of moving the stuff outside and letting them kind of check it out. It's remarkably good at helping them focus in on what they're really into, as opposed to playing some sort of a weird tactical, anti-salesman game, Yeah.
Hey, can somebody check and see if Kromke's still alive down there?
I just saw him take a drink. Yeah, he's good.
Oh, okay.
Steve muted. He doesn't know it. Hold on. There he is. He's unmuted now.
Is Oscar eating a hot dog?
Maybe.
As far as you know.
Yeah, none of your damn business.
This sucks.
You can Oscar my wiener. Come on.
Oh.
Are you raw dogging that?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Raw dogging. Like,
Man,
I digress.
these are rough times.
I haven't had my dinner yet, but I'm not gonna go for the Oscar Mayer. Oscar Mayer
Oscar's wiener.
I told my wife to throw a few potatoes in the oven. So
got them out. He just keeps a crock pot going of really rancid boiling water, just 2 or 3 bags of hot dogs at a time.
I
just walk by and grab one whenever he needs one.
Yeah.
I did some really nice curb picking the other day. I scored this, and I sent some pictures to Nick of this 1950s era air compressor. That from looking at it, I believe what it is it's an air compressor, but it almost looks factory built. It's hard to tell, but it's based off the air brake system off of a truck. So the compressor head is this funky Bendix Westinghouse compressor head. And then it has like the 2, just like a heavy truck has the 2 little tanks for the air brakes. Yeah. And it sits on top of that and everything. And it doesn't have an electric pressure switch. The compressor head itself has an unloader. So when it gets up to 100 pounds, it bleeds itself. The unloader goes. The pistons keep moving and everything. It just stops. But it's like super silent. It works great. I'm like, wow, somebody just pushed this out in their tree lawn. I went past it. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
And so no matter what happens, it always maintains 100 PSI.
Yeah, the electric motor that's
just never stops running.
Keeps running. So like you could convert it over to a gas engine and just let the gas engine idle, and it'll just stay at 100 pounds. It's made to be, you know what I mean? It's basically the air brake pump for a truck.
Yeah, every diesel bus and everything I've ever had runs the same way. You turn it on and it goes. It never stops going. The only thing it does is it goes into service or out of service, but it maintains 100 psi.
And let me ask you this: with air brakes, is this correct that the brakes automatically squeeze? It's the air that keeps them apart.
Yeah,
that is correct.
Okay.
So, like when you park a big truck, we drive a lot of big trucks at work and everything, and so when you park it, now they're all automatic. None of them are stick or anything. Right. But there's a yellow knob that you on the dash. It's for the air brakes. You push that, and it bleeds the air out of the system, and then that locks the brakes. So when you start the truck up, if it has a leak in the brake system, which a lot of old trucks, whatever, they'll leak down. You'll start it up, and like an ambulance, the ambulances are notorious because they have air ride suspension and stuff too. So you get a leak in your air ride suspension, and if it's sitting for a while, it's sagging, and you can't move it because until you rev up the motor and get up enough air, you can't, it won't move.
So why, when a truck is going downhill, they're worried like if the air system goes out or has a leak, it won't stop? Wouldn't that automatically stop, or does it overheat the brakes or something?
I think it's the brakes overheating.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe overheating or something like that. Because if you lost air, it's going to stop. It should lock the wheels. Generally.
Yeah. If you ever see an 18-wheeler going down the road and the rear axles on the trailer are on fire, there's smoke and shit.
Yeah.
It's because those dangly rubber hoses that go back from the cab of the truck to the trailer have sprung a leak, and they've lost their air support, and then that will cause the brakes at the back of the trailer to engage. So even though the truck is still got full power and everything and it's rolling along, the trailer will have gradually more engagement of these rear brakes until they go on fuego. And that's usually when you smell that smell and you see the truck off the side of the road, that's usually what's happened, is that they've burned up their rear brakes. Happens more often than you think, because the truck drivers tend to take really good care of their tractors, but the trailers are usually owned by whatever company they're picking up the load from, and they don't see a whole lot of maintenance.
Mm. That's the yellow. So then if you have a trailer, that's the air brake system for that. There's a red knob. So then when you park it, you pull the yellow and the red if there's a trailer behind it.
Yep. And that's just another thing too, is like if you ever like have to move a diesel vehicle, if somebody throws you the keys to a diesel vehicle and or a big commercial sized vehicle and you're not familiar with it, you'll get in there and you might try to put the thing in gear, and it might not let you put it in gear if it has an automatic transmission until it's been idling long enough to get that pressure up on the gauge over 90 psi.
Is that a scrode sack behind you? You have a scrode sack behind. What?
Oh God!
I think that's the Sarlacc that the Mandalorian fell into.
Yes.
That's not a scrode sack.
The last time we saw Boba Fett, he was heading into one of those.
But I every once in a while I get to drive a fire truck or something like that. That's a pain in the ass.
You'd think that would be fun. Like you'd be like, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to drive a fire truck.
No, because the first thing you have to do is back it out of the garage and pull it, and then back it into a garage and stuff. And it's like, no. I don't.
And if there's cameras on a $20,000 Ford Fiesta, why the shit aren't there like 15 cameras on a fire truck?
There are none.
Yeah. It seems like that would be the first thing I would take care of.
It's supposed to back you up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the military's thing was you didn't back up any military vehicle until you had a ground guide behind you and in front of you. So, somebody would, exactly.
Yep.
That's the right.
Well, that's how the fire trucks and everything like that, even the ambulances, the second guy, whoever's riding along, is supposed to go back there and back you up.
Sure, back you up, absolutely.
But I got nobody to back me up, so I'm driving a fucking ladder truck, trying to back it out into traffic, right past the entrance to the facility. Everybody's coming in and out and everything. I usually if I have to, I'll go lights, and if I really have to, I'll go siren, and that usually go lights and siren, and then, hey.
I'm pretty sure you can get away with it. That whole thing is. We used to have when I worked at the police department, all of our maintenance guys that would go pick up the cars and ferry them between our service garage and the motor pool. They were on the other sides of town, so occasionally you'd see like a 21-year-old kid with a mullet driving a police car, and we never went to the trouble of putting like the bags over the light light bars, the visibars. So you'd just be driving down the street and you'd see another car coming down when you'd be like, go wave at the guy or toot the horn at him, and you'd realize, I hope to God that kid's not stealing a police car. It's like,
So anybody that thinks that Cleveland Moto and all the guys involved in the podcast don't help each other out, Nick, every week he posts how he's working on his Fiat and the thing's a pile of shit and it's breaking down and dying and everything. And then he goes, and Mike, our friend Mike that was on the podcast for a while and is doing things, Nick goes and recommends that his 16-year-old son should definitely have a Fiat.
No. No, I did not recommend that he bought a Fiat. He asked me what I thought of it. I explained every single thing that has gone wrong with my Fiat, and he still bought it. So, and then the very next day, he texted me, is like, asking for advice because he took the brakes apart, and apparently there's like a bolt on the caliper bracket that's all stripped out.
Yeah. No, he said that you were very enthusiastic about the car, and it wasn't as bad as you made it sound. And
I never said that.
I think you were just trying to get some misery out of somebody else. You're like, I can't wait to hear these stories coming back.
Hey, Phil, can you give me my cat back, please?
oh, sure, John. Here you go.
Yeah, come on, here we go.
Sorry, John's over there.
Wait, did that cat go from John to Nick?
Now you're noticing? Yeah.
Traveling cat.
Now it is kind of interesting that three of us all have black cats.
Black cat.
John's got my cat now. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
There you go.
There you go. John, I think he looks happier with you.
Yeah.
Hey, Merritt, do you see this? So, John, what's your cat's name?
Oliver.
Oliver?
Oliver Closeoff.
Oliver Closeoff?
Here,
How about yours, Nick?
here, you want to pet him? Here you go. Here you
Oh,
go.
wait, hand me the cat. I need a cat. Oh, mine fucked off.
As they do.
As
I
the-
must be at Nick's house.
Oh, I see him coming now.
Oh, really? There you go. That cat gets around, man.
He hasn't been on two screens at the same time, though. So
That's
you
true.
know it's
Just
the
like
same
Superman.
cat.
Yeah, Superman and Clark Kent. Yep. You'll never see him. Yep. I do. So what's your cat's name?
My cat's name is Nimoy, like Leonard Nimoy.
Leonard Nimoy? Yeah. Yeah. My cat's name is Lucifer.
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 Yeah.
He goes by Lou. Or Sweet Lou.
What a guy.
What a guy. I love that.
Lou
The
Reed.
hot dog water release valve. Kromke's background is pretty good for Oscar. Yeah. So that's it. So what do we think is safe of the idea of like getting in the backyard with a fire pit?
Well, tomorrow's going to be 60, and I'm going riding. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Tomorrow I'm going to be working on my car.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Your Fiat?
yeah.
We're out in the backyard right now with a fire.
Who's in the
Well,
fire?
Okay,
Again-
I just sent the coolest picture of Leonard Nimoy to the group text.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
Ooh.
Oh,
I
yeah.
say there's damn precious. What the hell? Oh, look at that.
Also,
Nice.
picture.
Fucking hell, man. I like it. I like the way he paused long enough to get the headlights open for that shot. So he made sure to park the car with the headlights on so that you
Leonard
could.
Nimoy.
Yeah, that's pretty rad.
And his
Yeah.
boots are cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I sold the sandbar, so the sandbar's gone.
Already?
Yep.
That was
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah, so I sold the sandbar to a guy that actually just lives in Sheffield, so he's right down the street. And I just sold the Toyota Estima. Don't call it a Previa.
What?
So that leaves tomorrow. And we're seems to be a lot of interest in little Japanese cars. And I
That
got somebody
doesn't
sniffing
seem to
around the FJ80.
That business seems to be
My
going
truck
as
should be
good
on
or
the
better
boat,
than
right?
the bike business.
Well, yeah. What'd you say, Steve?
I said my truck should be on the boat right now.
Yeah, it is. It is on the boat. Yeah. Yeah, the Town Ace.
Another one? What are you getting?
Town Ace.
Oh,
It's a
Yeah,
dump
Steve's
truck.
getting a Town Ace dump truck. So the weird thing, though, is despite all today's turmoil and everything else that's happening, the customs department did see fit to seize one of my cars because it was manufactured in 1995, but it doesn't specify in what month it was manufactured in 1995. So customs, being that they have so much extra manpower right now, thought it'd be a good idea to seize that one. And so until they could figure out exactly in which month it was made, kind of an ambiguous task considering that it's clearly a 1995.
Oscar, wake up.
What if they found out it was like made in June or July? Would they
Right.
charge you fees or something, or what would
I have
happen?
no idea. It's never happened before. The sandbar did get an in-depth inspection because it was also a 95. And I think there's just somebody out there, some customs agent, who's just like, one of these days I'm going to catch one of these motherfuckers bringing a car in 2 months ahead of when they should. I don't get it. So
Wasn't that a big deal, like with the Skylines or something in Florida? Guys were pulling them in like a year or two early, and like it became a huge sting operation to get these guys because, God forbid, they brought a Skyline that was 24 years old in. Or
yeah,
something.
and they did have a weird thing. If you look
It
it
was
up, there's
Skylarks, Buick Skylarks they were bringing in.
there's a pretty good story about a company that was supposedly remanufacturing them or altering them and bringing them in, and they were like only 15 years old, and they got away with it. They got some sort of a pass that they could do that for a minute, and then it was determined that the guy who said he was altering the cars and making them to modern safety standards wasn't doing it. But the customers who'd already paid for the cars and got them released, there's a handful of Skylines that are in fact less than 25 years old that the federal government customs DOT did allow in, even though they weren't 25 years old.
Let me ask you this: what if I wanted to race one? What if I was a big drift guy and I didn't want to do it on the road? I wanted to do Class D drift or something, and I wanted to have a right-hand drive Skyline, 15-year-old Skyline.
No problem. Show or competition only. All they're going to ask you to do is to put up a $50,000 bond that promises that you're not going to use it on the street.
Okay.
And that if they ever find out that you're using it on the street,
You forfeit the bond.
you lose your $50,000 bond.
That's all.
Yep, that's it. That's how you do it. It's real easy. Yeah. It's pretty fucking simple, actually.
Easy come, easy go.
That's kind of cool if you want to race or do something. At least it gives you an avenue to do it, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And as long as you're going to play by the rules and you're not going to try to title it or you're not going to try to put it on the road, but just don't get caught with your dick in the cookie jar,
Mm-hmm.
So
Mine's in 92, right?
I don't know. Yeah, I
Just put a dealer tag on it. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean that's usually our answer for everything is just put a dealer tag on it until it's an age of which that you could legally title it. So
You need to help me get a dealer. You need to help me get dealer tags. I mean, I have to start a dealership.
no, don't do that. No, that is not a solution. That's a bigger problem. So becoming a dealer is never the solution. It is only a fucking problem.
what's that,
Yeah, but
15
if I have 20
bikes
motorcycles,
registered?
why should I plate every single thing when I don't drive them every day?
Because becoming a dealership now takes all of the control that you have over your life and means that now you have to jump through a bureaucracy chain that has been established since Henry Ford decided that we should all have cars.
Okay,
And-
so I'm better off the way I am?
Yeah, you're way better off the way you are. Just fucking put historicals on everything and have fun that way and know the rules for historicals,
Has anybody here been caught during the like, because we're not supposed to be leaving home or anything like that. Have you been riding historical plated vehicles around? And
Every day. Yeah.
so no cops have been like, hey, what are you doing? There's no club events going on. There's no.
I mean, I'm still taking it to or from getting serviced, or to or from selling it, or to or from, taking pictures of it to sell it.
Showing it off for sale, yeah.
Right. I mean, there's still a million things. In fact, probably more now that we could be doing that are within the rules of historical registration on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or
No, that's true. Yeah.
on a work day.
Let me ask you this: if you have a bike with historical plates on it, right?
Yeah.
Unless the cop sees you riding to work every day and has been like, "Look, dude, I've seen you 22 days in a row ride this to work," right?
Right.
I mean,
Your shit.
yeah, like what can they do? At some point, you'd be like, "Yeah, my real car didn't start. I have to get to work. I'm taking my fucking."
They're going to cite you for. They're going to incite you. They're going to write you a ticket for improper use of plates, which is it's a minor misdemeanor. It's a traffic offense as anything else is a traffic offense, and ultimately you're either going to decide to pay the ticket or you're going to fight the ticket, which I don't know why you'd fight it, but you'd fight it and you'd try to say like, well, I have proof, like. Daniel Kromke, every time he rides his motorcycle, he says he's going, like he creates a Facebook event and invites me to his Facebook event that turns out to be Daniel just wants to ride his vintage bike on a Wednesday.
Right.
So, and God forbid Daniel were to be pulled over, he would have the best alibi ever that he was going to an event, because he can show you on Facebook that not only was there an event, but I was invited to it.
Right.
And who cares how many people showed up? There was an event,
So Ian doesn't draw many people to his events anyhow.
Well, yeah, exactly. Right.
So can we add a running event for the whole summer called Cleveland Moto Goes to a Bar? And like it's just Monday through Friday or Sunday or something?
I think bars are going to be shut down for most of the summer.
Well, I'm saying in normal times, not during the apocalypse.
Well, here's an interesting thing. What about people that do like geocaching?
Yeah.
That's an event. They're participating in an event. And they might be in a geocaching group. I mean, the group, like geocaching itself, is a participatory event. And if you were doing that event, the key word here that I keep saying is event.
Right.
And that's kind of what historical plates are all about. So
and it can be anything. You can say, I'm going to a club meeting. And
yeah, that's exactly it. So
that's what I said. Literally, Rocky River pulled me over, and I said that I was a field rep for the Vintage Japanese Motorcycle Club, so I pulled that card on him.
Right.
I said, I'm a field rep for the Vintage Japanese Motorcycle Club, and I'm just coming home from a meeting.
Right.
And he was like, okay, you're good. And that was the only reason he pulled me over, is because I was driving at night with a vintage plate.
Yeah. I don't think at any point in my childhood we ever had a vehicle in the driveway that wasn't historical, right? And so Dad's thing was he always had a bag from Napa or Forest City Auto Parts that had a belt and a rotor and a couple of spark plugs, but no receipt. And if he ever got pulled over, he'd be like, well, yeah, I had to run down to the parts store and get a belt and a cap and a rotor and some spark plugs because I'm going to do a tune-up on the car.
And here it is.
Well, I threw it away like we all do, of course, And then that becomes like, well, it's kind of a hard argument to be like, well, could he prove that he had a receipt for the parts he had behind the seat? I got a feeling a judge is going to punch you down the road on that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is historical vehicles. That's one of the reasons that I'm into them, is because they do kind of that whole 50-year license plate thing. It's kind of cool. So it's
I
neat.
was thinking this year that the Rusty Buckeye would be the perfect thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I do agree. I think that
camping out, which would give you the 6-foot radius of beyond the people,
right?
And I mean, it would be something that we could do together.
Yep,
be apart.
Yeah, I do agree, and I think that they're joking. Oscar, did you see the 2020 My Scooter Rally got canceled patch?
Yes.
which is literally like a one-man pup tent with a scooter parked next to it. That was like my scooter rally got canceled 2020. And so it's like a rally patch for everybody whose rallies got canceled. Yeah. But it is true.
You probably have to have about a half a dozen of those.
Yeah. And so it is. Yeah. You want to go out and ride. You want to go out and have a good time. And this is just, it is still one of the things it just happens to be in our part of the country. We've had particularly shitty weather for the past week or two that while we've been sort of on lockdown, we haven't wanted to go out and ride around on bikes because the weather's been crap,
Yeah, pretty good weather for March though, honestly.
Yeah. Today was amazing outside, and sitting here working and looking outside with the sun glaring, it was like, wanted to be outside, man.
I did a conference call on my porch.
Hey, Sleepy, if you're going riding tomorrow, I'll go with you.
You gonna be alive?
I mean, shit. A bottle of bourbon. You think that's going to kill me?
Nah, it'll be fine.
All right, I'll hit you up.
Yeah. I will be working, so I'll be at the shop between, noon and 6 or 11 and 6 or something like that. Sunday
everybody who's been stuck at home, they're doing all kinds of cleaning. So have you been cleaning the shop? You've got all the dust out of the corners and everything and waxed all the bikes?
John, we've been busy as shit. So, we're down to a mechanic and a half.
All right.
So we got Sparky and his son, and we really, if you went into the service department right now, you'd see that we're about 18 to 20 bikes behind.
Is Sparky okay?
Sparky's fine, but his wife went in, she had to get a test because she was exposed and she was showing symptoms. So she got tested. They had to be on quarantine for a couple of days. And then her results came back that she was just regular sick. She wasn't COVID sick.
Oh, cool.
And so he was allowed to come back to work. And, it's just, I've been super aggressive bringing in a lot of service work and to compensate for the lack of sales that we have. So it's not like we're welcoming people to come into the shop to buy a helmet or a pair of gloves or to browse around or whatever. So there just hasn't been much demand for that. So I'm kind of turning up the service department. Well, that's it's great for us, but it's tough on Sparky. So and if any of you guys feel like you need a few hours or you want to get some wrench time in, please swing by the shop. We'll be happy to point you in the way of a basic service or whatever your skill level feels like it can handle on that particular day.
I'm pretty much up to cleaning the blue stuff off of Buddy Whitewall tires. That's about my level.
That's about your level of prepare. That's it. When Sparky got called off, James and I looked at each other, and James and I were like, "Oh shit." And I know James
all the bikes. I'll just lift them. That's what I'll do.
James fought with the tire machine for about 4 hours. So I think James said that we had lost $75 when he did a 2 tire change. So, and I did a couple of basic services that I think cost us about $30 a piece to do that we made absolutely no profit margin on. So, but yeah, it got a little scary there when we were looking at the idea of, Sparky being out of the shop for a long time. So
hey, tell James he still owes me a breakfast.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. Yeah. So he's been, I think one of his things is he's doing the virtual barbecue, and he's reached out to a lot of people because James does quite a bit of cooking. He's a pretty good cook. And I guess what he's done is he's going to prepare a bunch of meals for people and deliver them, kind of either you come to the shop and pick them up or he'll deliver them to where you are. So, yeah. So he's doing it because he wants to have a barbecue, but he's not, we're not allowed to get people together. Mm-hmm. So rather than get people together, he's going to bring the food to you or you can come and get the food. So, yeah, it's a weird
I was thinking, can't we come up with some sort of divider thing that we can set up, basically like cubicles that you set up in your backyard, and everybody has their own little spot that they can be in, and you can look at each other, maybe like plexiglass, and you can see each other, but you can't really contaminate each other.
John, what you're describing is a habit trail.
Yeah, something like that.
Or a strip club in this one part of Canada, but it's kind of shady.
You just slide the money in.
Yeah.
I have a fence around.
You press a button and it distributes loonies and toonies.
Yeah.
I have the fence around our backyard so that that's kind of cool. We can sit there and talk to the neighbors on the other side of the fence.
Right. It's going to be a weird thing that we haven't thought about yet is so once the weather gets warmer, not right now, but if this continues on into June, we're going to want to be using the lake, right? And that's a weird thing too, because we're totally distancing ourselves because we're in water, and there'll be a lot of space around us, but they're already restricting a lot of access to the metro parks because a couple of weeks ago I was riding a motorcycle through the metro parks and I stumbled upon a social car gathering is the nicest way to say it. And there were about 60 or 70 cars that were in the metro parks that were all in one of those parking areas, and they were having a car show.
Oh, dude, people are dumb. The last podcast that we did where we actually went to your shop and we were 6 feet away, on the way home that night, that's when he said everything was shut down, like all bars and stuff. There was a bodega with 200 people partying in the fucking parking lot of the bodega, hand in hand, hammered, partying. So people are dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't see anything in the near future where we're going to have any opportunity to do that kind of getting together thing. And what about people that are into cars and coffee? Like cars and coffee, the concept is your car, you're near your car, and you're certainly more than 6 feet away, and you're wandering around looking at all these other cars, but you're out in the world and you're proximal.
Well,
it's still a lot of people in a relatively small area.
Yeah.
Here's what's going to happen. There's going to be dating sites for people who already got it.
Oh.
So after you've already had it, you can't get it again. So those people they're going to start getting together and having big parties and laughing.
COVID.
Everybody
I
else
like
will
it.
be like, we can't get it, so we're going to hang out. It's I'm going to go. I had the COVID. I can't even be around my girlfriend. I'm going to go find a new girl.
They're not sure about that, though, because the people in Wuhan that had it are getting it again.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's coming.
Don't ruin the
There are
story.
definitely people who've had it once who are having it more than once. So.
Yep, and they also said that people that tested negative now, 2 weeks later, are starting to test positive again in Wuhan.
Yeah.
So that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big thing that the Chinese aren't really, we know that, and it's no surprise. We know that the Chinese aren't going to give us the full story,
Exactly.
But a lot of our estimates and a lot of our calculations were based off of what they told us, which turns out to not be so accurate at all.
That's the people that shit in holes and eat dogs. Seriously.
But let me ask you this: has anybody thought about what was North Korea's fucking Christmas gift? Could this be that?
I absolutely have no idea. And that's one of those things too where I'm like, hey, that's where, in 10 years when that story comes out, I'll be like, wow, Sleepy was really out in front on that one.
Everybody forgot about North Korea said, hey, for Christmas we're giving you something. So how sneaky would it be to send that shit down to China knowing that we get everything from China and it was going to hit us anyways?
Yeah.
It totally takes him out of the equation.
Right.
Welcome to coast to coast.
China is their biggest ally. In fact, China is the only reason that they can still exist. The only contiguous border that they have with anybody else is China. So
China. Right.
Yeah.
With North Korea, for sure, absolutely. With North Korea, it's a case of don't shit where you eat.
Yeah. Did you guys hear that? I'm going to say this name, and I know it's a Tucker Carlson thing, but he was just regurgitating something that he picked up, which was supposedly a paper where they examined the origins of the coronavirus, and they're actually saying, and it's not bioweapons facilities that are in Wuhan. It's actually just like a CD, like the Chinese version of the CDC is there, and that they're doing experiments of coronavirus on these bats, which were never actually sold in the wet markets. They were saying that what they think may have happened was somebody at the facility was taking the bat meat and selling it as something else. But meanwhile, it was bat meat that they were testing coronaviruses on and shit.
Well, dude, today at 6 o'clock during the news, when the president was given a thing,
Right.
at one point, it just caught me really weird. He said, "We all know this is manufactured now," and he just moved on from it. And like, I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, he just said, like, and of course, this is manufactured. And I was like, how come that's not like grade A top of the story? Like, what do you mean it's manufactured? Like, that was really interesting to hear today.
Well, I guess it's what take you take on it.
I agree.
Manufactured as in the disease itself was manufactured in the lab, or the whole pandemic was manufactured to, you know what I mean? I don't know what.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm just saying, but it was really weird how that got skipped over and nobody mentioned it. And I was sitting there going, like, what was manufactured? That was my thing. I was like, wait a minute, what was manufactured? I want to know.
I think we're all extremely willing to accept a lot of horrible things in the name of convenience and profit.
Yeah.
I fear that we've kind of walked away from quality control.
Yeah.
And
I think what you said, Phil, in the past was that, you know, these guys got it from this cave in Wuhan, like they were smoking in there and getting it.
Yeah, it was just,
you know what? The regardless of how they got it, the Chinese government knew that they had it. They knew they had a problem, and they should have told the world that, hey, listen, we got a problem here, and we should deal with this right now. And we shouldn't like allow anybody to escape from this fucking Wuhan province, because this is going to cause a problem.
There's a David.
I regardless if it's a government conspiracy or not a government conspiracy, the Chinese government covered it up because they were fucking communists.
Check this out. This is 100% not third party. This is not anything. This is my buddy. So my buddy Craig lived in Wuhan, and he was.
It's the Craig report.
No, but seriously. My friend Craig moved to China 10 years ago, and he's been an English teacher in China, and he happened to live in Wuhan. And so in early December, he was posting stuff on Facebook like, yo, people are getting sick. I'm coming home. Mm-hmm. And so he came back to the United States and he had to go through all this stuff, got screened and everything, whatever.
Patient zero.
Well, no, not at all. He's still here. He's not sick, whatever. But like, so he had friends from Wuhan still sending him pictures. And as early as, like, my surgery was December 30th, and I think a week after that, he was sending pictures saying, people are passing out in the streets dying. This is serious, and it's going to hit here. And his posts were getting deleted from Facebook, and he didn't know why. Like, Facebook was actively deleting. If he got a post from China and reposted it on Facebook, they would delete it and say that was fake news. And they did that all the way up to like about a few weeks ago, and now like his posts have returned.
Is he dead right now?
So
No,
they
he's
just
not
had an
dead.
earthquake in California, 4.6, just a few minutes ago. So just
Oh, really?
yeah,
What part of Cali?
near San Diego.
Do they feel 4.6s anymore?
It's so common. Well, it used to be so common. It's just like,
Right. Yeah.
but yeah.
If anybody wants some fun, because if you have some downtime, there's a movie that starred David Duchovny that was called Evolution.
Oh yeah.
And it's one of my absolute favorite movies from a strange biological standpoint. And there's nothing serious about it. It's all silly fun. But it is a really fun one if you want to kind of take a look and be like how shit spreads. And yeah, Evolution's a fun one. So if you get a chance, you want to watch that. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah, that's that. It's just a silly total throwaway movie. There's nothing about it.
That movie is awesome because
got-
Head and Shoulders saves the world.
Yes, it's true. It's the
What saves the world?
Head and Shoulders. Yeah, Head and Shoulders. The selenium. But we were so tapped out on watching virus plague related shit and news that last night we watched the very first episode of Roger Moore in The Saint.
Oh yeah.
I've seen the whole series.
Yep, and I did too, but many years ago.
Yeah.
So if you want to, it's again, this is totally, and it's out there. It's it's on your servers. You can download it. But the very first episode, 1962, and he's hot rodding around the English countryside in a badass Batwing Volvo. It's really
kind of a contradiction.
It's really, I mean, it's really good storytelling. It's a really good plot, and they don't let you in on it until it's like the tension is there. It's really good storytelling, and it's Roger Moore at his absolute best. So
that's an awesome series.
Yeah, it's really good, and it's funny because
my pick is Virtuosity.
Virtuosity,
and it's on Roku. If you have a Roku, you can get it for free.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the Roku channel.
Yeah, Virtuosity's fun.
Pluto, whatever, TV.
Right. Yeah.
But if you want to watch a good movie with Denzel Washington,
yep, yeah, it's fun.
Virtuosity and Russell Crowe.
Hey, speaking of spies and stuff, have you guys ever seen the Flint series, like My Man?
Yeah.
Flint?
Man Flint. Yeah.
So good,
My Man
man.
Flint.
I just watched those the other day. So good.
Yeah,
I'm going to say Fletcher.
That's it. So, anybody got anything else? This is it, man. I mean, if you want to watch the motorcycle culture grind to a fucking halt, it's this. It's not letting us play with each other.
Yeah.
Well,
Not really.
keep myself busy playing with myself.
Well, tomorrow, I mean, Chris, if we're riding tomorrow, we're going to go
We're
around
gonna play with each other?
barrel,
Whoa.
a growler.
Say around noon.
Yeah, we can do that.
Noon. Meet at the shop. Meet in front of Phil's shop and leave at noon or something. Noon.
1 to 4.
Yeah, a couple hours.
There you
Yeah, I'll go riding at noon.
Okay.
That's cool. Very good.
Steve, I got to borrow a bike.
You can borrow anything I have in McElfresh.
Your drifter's ready to go, dude.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah, your drifter's
What did you say, Steve?
perfect and ready to go. Your drifter's ready to go, and I think I have to check, but I'm pretty sure your V7 is ready to go too. The only bike of yours that I haven't pulled out of the warehouse yet is the Concourse. So,
and I take a bunch of shit from these Kawasaki Concours guys for pronouncing it Concourse.
Yeah, I know. What
the hell's that shit all about?
Yeah. If you're going to be French, you got to put an E after the end of it. And if there's an E after it, then you can pronounce the S. But if there's no E after the end of it, then you're not allowed to pronounce the S.
Woof. That's too much to remember.
Fucking French, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's go tomorrow at noon then. Let's do this ride at noon tomorrow, and McElfresh can ride my Africa Twin.
What?
Oh, nice.
Oh my God. Okay.
Do it.
Holy
Noon on Lorraine.
Noon at 400 though.
What time will you be unloading it off the trailer?
It's not on a trailer. I'm riding it home. I'm serious.
Okay.
High noon. Phil's shop. Africa
Send some
Twin.
text messages.
Fuck you.
Send some text messages.
There will be text.
Confirm tomorrow.
I'm being there at 12 noon with the Africa Twin. If you're not there,
You're
fuck
breaking
you.
Okay. Is that a threat or a promise?
A promise.
All right, guys. That's all we got. Everybody remember, ride fast and take chances. Sing us out.
Bum, bum,
Okay, press the button, Sleepy. Press the button. I don't have any control.